Hi everyone, welcome back to the Little Miss Funeral YouTube channel. My name is Lauren. I'm a licensed funeral director in New York, and for today's video I wanted to talk about a term that you may have heard of a lot. I know that personally it is thrown around a lot within different funeral homes because it's something that we use to distinguish ourselves from our competition, and that is personalized funerals. I think that it's very important to talk about this because it's something that can range from a very small act when deciding upon a funeral service to incorporating a large event based around the deceased life. And if it's something that's important to you, and if it's really something that is going to alter your decision of what funeral home to use at the time of a death, I think that it's important to know the kind of questions and things to ask a funeral home in regards to personalized services. Now, traditionally, if you come from a religious background, you may be very well aware of the fact that when a person dies, there are specific acts and certain things that you do at that time. That comes from that culture and that comes from that tradition in that religion, and it's really done the exact same way every single time. As a society, since we are getting further away from organized religion, I think that it is important to talk about personalization, just because in today's day and age, when it comes to organizing and setting up a funeral, there is no rule book. Now, personalizing can be something as small as putting a photo on a prayer card or on the register book, to something as large as actually ordering a custom casket designed specifically with the deceased in mind. I have done personalization such as ordering little golf tees for somebody who is a golfer, all the way to doing a funeral service for somebody in Hawaiian theme, where every single person who gathered was wearing their certain Hawaiian shirts and colors, and we had leis that we put on all of the chairs so people could wear that during the service as well. And these little or big acts can be so amazing when honoring a life, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're focusing on this person and their loves and their hobbies, and you really are remembering them for who they were while they were living. I can almost guarantee that any single funeral home that you may be calling will say that they do personalized services, but it's important to know the kinds of questions to ask when you are choosing them, because really that can vary so unbelievably, because they may or may not be able to access and do certain things. For instance, there are some funeral homes out there that can print, like I said, the deceased picture on the prayer cards, the register book, the thank you notes. I know there are some funeral homes that can do custom back panels within their funeral home establishment for inside of the casket. I know of another local funeral home where they can actually do banners and print ups of the deceased to have on display during the calling hours as well. Not every single funeral home is going to be able to do this sort of printing, because there are different machines and there are different kinds of programs that they need to have on their computers. So when talking about printing options, it's important to know and to ask the differences when calling funeral homes. When it comes to personalized music, does the funeral home establishment have contacts for harp players, guitar players, accordion players? I mean, there are so many different music that can be incorporated at the time of the passing, and music is such an important part because it's such a huge factor in our day-to-day lives. If the funeral home doesn't have certain contacts, if families have certain contacts as well, that should be absolutely no issue within the funeral home when you're working together to plan the service. There are so many different custom options as well when talking about caskets. This is something in itself that can take a little bit of time if you choose to do this, so it's something to keep in the back of your mind. For instance, this isn't necessarily something that can be done within a day or two time frame. When you're ordering a custom casket, you have to account for the time that it takes to make that. There are other things that can be done when talking about caskets as well. Instead of maybe ordering a custom casket in the sense that it's coming from a manufacturer, because that can take a lot of time, I have actually been to some services where cremation containers were used for the deceased, and Sharpie markers and different writing utensils were placed all around it, and then we were all encouraged to leave a message to the deceased, and then that was either going to be buried or cremated with them. I think that that was such a beautiful personalized option that was available, because it also took the caller's feelings into account as well. I say feelings, but really it's their grief. You know, when you're going to a visitation, a lot of times you have your own grief that you're working through as well, and to leave a note and you know that that's going to go to the final resting place with the deceased, I just thought that that was amazing. I have seen funeral services where recipes of the deceased were on display, so everybody who came could take the recipe of the favorite meal that they made in life. I have been to services where you were going to leave a little memory of your favorite interaction or a funny time that happened, and that was given to the family of the deceased as well. So when it comes to personalization, it really is a two-way avenue, because what can take place is the actual things that the funeral home can do for you, such as printing, but on the other end, it really is inviting the people who are coming to pay their respects and their personalization in as well. But once again, I think it's important to know the questions to ask the funeral home. So just to revisit what I said before, very important is to know what kind of printing the funeral home can do, whether or not it's prayer cards, register book programs, back panels, banners, to what can you bring into the funeral home to remember the life that was lived, from their own personal effects to pictures and poster boards. And once again, I've parked cars outside of the funeral home. We've had funerals for firemen where the fire trucks were actually brought into the funeral home establishment as well. So this, once again, could go on and on and on about personalization, but it's an important factor in the funeral service, because the whole reason why we're getting together to remember the deceased is to honor their life and to honor the person and remember the person that they were. So if you have a favorite memory of a funeral that you went to where you think that it was really personalized to the deceased and to their life, put it in the comment section below. I think that it's important that we share these items and get ideas, because even though one funeral home may try to distinguish themselves from another, the whole idea behind this is to be able to better serve our communities. And the way to do that is to talk about it and to share ideas with one another and to work together. So thank you all so much for watching this video. If you like this video, I guess I can make another one where I can elaborate on this topic a little bit more, because like I said, the ideas and the things that I've done, I could make a really long video just talking about this. But thank you all again so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.